The sun was setting over the Cascade Mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Jack Miller adjusted his park ranger hat and continued his evening patrol. He had been a ranger for 5 years now, and he loved the quiet and peace of the forest. Tonight felt different, though. The animals were silent, and there was a strange feeling in the air. Jack checked his watch. He should head back to his cabin soon. As he turned to walk back down the trail, a bright flash lit up the sky. Something streaked across the darkening heavens, leaving a trail of smoke. Jack watched, wide-eyed, as the object crashed into the forest about a mile north of his position. "What the hell was that?" he muttered, reaching for his radio. He should report this, but curiosity got the better of him. He put the radio back on his belt and changed direction, heading toward the crash site. It took Jack 20 minutes of hard hiking to reach the area. The trees had been flattened in a long path, and at the end was a small smoking craft unlike anything he had ever seen. It was about the size of a car, with a smooth silver surface that seemed to shift colors in the dying light. Jack approached carefully, his flashlight beam cutting through the smoke. The craft had split open, and lying on the ground beside it was a figure. Jack moved closer, his heart pounding in his chest. It was a woman. At least she looked like a woman in shape, but her skin was a soft blue color that seemed to shimmer. Her hair was white as snow, and she had strange markings on her face and arms that glowed faintly. She was clearly injured, with a deep cut on her forehead and what looked like burns on her arms. Jack knelt beside her. He knew he should call this in. This was clearly something for the government to handle. But the woman, the alien, looked so hurt, so vulnerable. Her chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. "I can't just leave you here," he said quietly, making a decision he knew might cost him his job. Jack carefully lifted the alien woman. She was surprisingly light. He made his way slowly back to his cabin, carrying her as gently as he could. Cabin was small but comfortable. He had built it himself when he took the ranger job. It was off the main roads, with its own generator and well, perfect for someone who liked privacy. Now, he was glad for that privacy. He laid the alien on his bed and began to clean her wounds. Her blood was a deeper blue than her skin, almost purple. The cut on her forehead seemed to be slowly closing even as he watched. Jack cleaned the burns with cool water and wrapped them loosely with gauze. As he worked, he noticed strange implants partially visible beneath her skin. They looked like metal and some kind of crystal, following the lines of her bones and muscles. Jack had never seen anything like it. He wondered if they were medical devices, or maybe just part of her alien biology. The woman remained unconscious. For hours, Jack sat beside the bed, watching her and wondering what he had gotten himself into. He should have reported the crash. He should be calling someone right now. But something told him that might not be the best thing for his strange visitor. Around midnight, the alien woman stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing irises that were a deep violet color with no pupils. She sat up suddenly, looking around. In panic, "It's okay," Jack said, holding up his hands to show he meant no harm. "You're safe." The woman spoke, but the words were unlike any language Jack had ever heard. The sounds were musical, but strange, with clicks and tones he wasn't sure a human throat could make. "I don't understand," he said slowly. "Do you understand me?" The alien woman watched him carefully, her head tilted slightly. She touched her throat, then pointed to him. "Jack," he said, pointing to himself. "My name is Jack." The woman nodded slowly. Jack," she repeated, her voice strangely accented, but clear. "That's right," he said, smiling. "What's your name?" The alien seemed to think for a moment, then made a sound that Jack couldn't hope to pronounce. Seeing his confusion, she smiled slightly and touched her chest. Lyra, she said. You call ... Lyra. Lyra, Jack repeated. Nice to meet you, Lyra. Over the next few hours, Lyra's ability to understand and speak English improved at an amazing rate. By dawn, she was speaking in simple sentences. Jack wondered if she had some kind of technology helping her learn, or if her species was just naturally good with languages. Where from? Jack asked, pointing up at the sky. Lyra seemed to understand. She walked to the window and looked up at the stars, now fading as the sun rose. Far, she said. Very far. She pointed to a section of the sky. There. Jack noticed that her wounds were almost completely healed now. The burns were gone, and the cut on her forehead was just a faint line. She moved with a grace that seemed almost supernatural, and when she picked up a metal cup from the table, he saw that she had only 4 fingers on each hand. Why did you crash here? Jack asked. Lyra's face darkened. She looked out the window again, but this time her gaze was fearful. Running, she said. Bad ones follow. Who's following you? Jack asked, feeling a chill. Lyra's answer was interrupted by a beeping from Jack's emergency alert system. He walked over to the small radio set and listened to the message. Attention. All park service personnel. Unusual atmospheric disturbances have been detected in your area. Please report any strange sightings immediately. Repeat, report any strange sightings immediately. Jack looked at Lyra, who was watching him with those strange violet eyes. She seemed to understand the message, and her face showed fear. They come, she whispered. They find me. Jack turned off the radio and walked back to Lyra. Who are they? He asked. Who's coming? Lyra touched one of the strange markings on her arm, and it glowed brighter under her fingers. Made me, she said, for war. Jack didn't understand, but he could see the fear in her eyes. Whatever was happening, Lyra was scared. And despite only knowing her for a few hours, Jack knew he wanted to help her. You're safe here, he said, touching her shoulder gently. I won't let anyone hurt you. Lyra looked at him, surprise and something like hope in her eyes. Why help? She asked. Not know me. Jack shrugged. Because it's the right thing to do, he said simply. Lyra nodded slowly, as if his answer made perfect sense to her. She looked out the window again, at the brightening sky. Whatever was out there, whatever was coming, they would face it together. The next morning, Jack woke to find Lyra examining his bookshelf. She moved with smooth, quick motions that seemed too perfect to be natural. When she reached for a book on the top shelf, Jack noticed she didn't need to stretch as a human would. Her arm simply extended farther than it should have been able to. Good morning, Jack said, sitting up on the couch where he had slept. Lyra turned to him, the book in her hands. It was a field guide to local plants. Morning good, she said, then frowned. Good morning. Learning words. Jack was amazed at how quickly she was picking up English. Are you hungry? He asked. Lyra nodded. Yes. Food different on Earth? From my home? Probably, Jack said as he walked to the small kitchen. Let's start with something simple. He made oatmeal with dried berries and set it on the table. Lyra watched him carefully and copied his movements exactly. The way she held the spoon, the angle of her wrist, even how many times she chewed. It was like watching someone learn human behavior through perfect imitation. After breakfast, Jack asked the question that had been on his mind all night. Lyra, you said someone made you for war. What did you mean? Lyra's violet eyes darkened. She pushed up her sleeve to show more of the strange markings on her arm. Up close, Jack could see they weren't tattoos, but some kind of technology embedded in her skin. My people alter us, she said slowly. Fight with Dravic Empire. Long war. Need better soldiers. She touched the markings. Make me, others like me, living weapons. Jack tried to understand. You're a soldier? Some kind of super soldier? Lyra shook her head. More. Weapon. Can do things. She looked at the metal spoon on the table. She stared at it, and to Jack's shock, the spoon slowly rose into the air. It floated toward Lyra's outstretched hand. Jack backed away. How did you do that? Inside me, Lyra said, tapping her head and then her chest. Machines, changes, control metal, energy. She looked sad. Not born this way, made this way. Jack's mind raced. Lyra wasn't just an alien. She was some kind of engineered weapon. Why did you run away? He asked, learn truth. They use us against. She struggled for the word. Not soldiers. Normal people. Civilians. Destroy whole cities. Her eyes filled with tears. Not want to. Kill. Escaped. Before Jack could respond, there was a knock at the door. They both froze. Jack, you in there? A woman's voice called out. Jack relaxed slightly. It's my friend Olivia, he told Lyra. She's a doctor. She sometimes brings me supplies. Lyra looked nervous, but nodded. Jack went to the door and opened it partway. Olivia Martinez stood on his porch with a box of medical supplies. She had dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail and wore hiking boots and jeans. She had been a military medic before becoming the town's doctor. Hey, Jack, I brought those bandages you asked for last month, she said, then peered at his face. You look terrible. Everything okay? Yeah, just didn't sleep well, Jack said, not opening the door further. Olivia frowned. You're acting weird. What's going on? Before Jack could answer, the radio on his belt crackled. Attention, all Rangers. We have government officials arriving to investigate the atmospheric event from last night. All personnel report to headquarters for briefing. Repeat, all personnel report to headquarters. Olivia raised an eyebrow. What atmospheric event? Jack sighed. He knew he couldn't hide this from Olivia, and he might need her help. If I show you something, do you promise to keep it secret? Olivia's expression became serious. That depends on what it is. It's not dangerous, Jack said, then realized. He wasn't sure if that was true. At least, I don't think it is, but it's important. After a moment, Olivia nodded. Okay, show me. Jack opened the door. Lyra stood in the middle of the room, her blue skin and white hair making her clearly not human. Olivia gasped and nearly dropped the box she was holding. What the hell? She whispered. This is Lyra, Jack said. She crashed in the forest last night. She's running from people who want to use her as a weapon. Olivia stepped inside and closed the door behind her. She stared at Lyra with wide eyes. She's an alien, an actual alien, Lyra nodded. Yes, from Alterus, far from here. And she speaks English? Olivia asked, amazed. She's learning very quickly, Jack explained. She has some kind of technology in her body. She's been enhanced. Olivia put down the box and took a tentative step toward Lyra. Is it okay if I look at you? As a doctor, I mean? Lyra hesitated, then nodded. Yes. As Olivia examined Lyra, Jack explained everything that had happened. Olivia listened while checking Lyra's pulse and looking at the technology visible beneath. Her skin. This is incredible, Olivia said. Her biology is similar to ours, but different in key ways. And these implants are like nothing I've ever seen. Suddenly, the lights in the cabin flickered. The radio on Jack's belt emitted a high-pitched squeal, then went dead. Jack's watch stopped working. Even Olivia's cell phone shut off. What's happening? Jack asked. Lyra looked distressed. Sorry. When nervous, sometimes affects machines. Cannot always control. As she spoke, the metal items in the room began to vibrate. A pan hanging on the wall fell with a clatter. The silverware in a drawer rattled. "Try to calm down," Jack said gently. "Take deep breaths." Lyra closed her eyes and breathed slowly. Gradually, the disturbances stopped. The lights stabilized, but the electronics remained dead. "That was you?" Olivia asked, looking at Lyra with new understanding. Lyra nodded. "Part of what they made me to do, control electromagnetic energy." Olivia looked at Jack. "The government team's investigating the atmospheric disturbance. They're looking for her, aren't they?" "Not just them," Lyra said. "Dravik, follow. Hunt me. Find all runaways." Jack walked to the window and looked out at the forest. In the distance, he could see vehicles moving on the main road. People with equipment. "We need to keep you hidden," he told Lyra. "If either the Dravik or our government finds you, they'll want to use you as a weapon." The sound of a drone made them all look up. Through the window, they could see a small drone hovering near the cabin, its camera pointed directly at them. Eyes narrowed. Without warning, the markings on her skin glowed brightly. She raised her hand toward the drone, and the machine suddenly sparked and fell from the sky. Jack and Olivia stared at her in shock. Lyra lowered her hand, the glow fading from her skin. "We go now," she said firmly. "Not safe here." Jack knew she was right. Whatever Lyra was, whoever had created her, they were all in danger now. And somehow, he had become part of something much bigger than he could have imagined. "Pack only what you need," he told Olivia. "We need to disappear before they find us." As they quickly gathered supplies, Jack wondered what he had gotten himself into. But when he looked at Lyra, he knew. He couldn't abandon her. Not to the people who wanted to use her as a weapon. Not to anyone. Jack drove his old truck down the back roads, avoiding the main highways. Lyra sat between him and Olivia, her blue skin hidden under a hooded sweatshirt, gloves, and sunglasses. Every few minutes, she would look at the sky with worry. "Where are we going?" Olivia asked. She had packed her medical bag and some food without question, trusting Jack's judgment. "I know an old hunting cabin about 50 miles from here," Jack said. "It's deep in the woods, off any maps. We should be safe there for a while." As they drove, Jack noticed 2 black SUVs parked at a gas station. Men in suits were showing pictures to the clerk. "Government agents," he guessed. "Duck down," he told Lyra as they passed. She immediately slid lower in the seat. They drove in. Silence for a while. Then Lyra spoke. "2 came after me." "Dravik hunters." "Hunters? Like bounty hunters?" Olivia asked. Lyra nodded. "Find runaways. Bring back, or destroy if cannot bring." "How do they find you?" Jack asked, glancing at her. Lyra touched her chest. "Energy signature. Different from humans. They have trackers. So, they can find you no matter where you hide?" Olivia asked, looking worried. "Not easy. Need close." "Within few miles," Lyra explained. "Why I crashed here. Remote area. Few people." Jack thought about this. "So we need to stay away from populated areas, but we also need to avoid the government teams looking for you. That's going to be tough." They stopped at a small store to buy more supplies. Jack went in while Olivia stayed with Lyra in the truck. When he came out, his face was grim. "They're on the news," he said, starting the truck. "There's a report about an unidentified aircraft crashing in the national park. They're calling it a weather balloon, but asking people to report any unusual sightings." "Classic cover-up," Olivia said. "What about the Dravik hunters Lyra mentioned?" "If they're here, they're keeping a low profile," Jack replied. They continued driving, taking ever smaller roads until they were on a dirt track that wound through dense forest. Eventually, they reached a small wooden cabin nestled among tall pines. It looked abandoned. My uncle used to bring me here when I was a kid, Jack explained as he unlocked the door. Nobody's used it in years. The cabin was dusty but solid. One room with a fireplace, a small kitchen area, and a bathroom with a pump for water. Basic, but it would do. As Olivia checked their supplies, Jack helped Lyra settle in. He noticed she kept scanning the room, her eyes moving methodically from corner to corner. "What are you looking for?" he asked. "Assessing," she replied. "Exits, cover, defense points." She pointed to various spots in the cabin. "If attack comes, you go there. I defend here." Jack realized she was thinking like a soldier or a weapon. "Lyra, do you remember anything from before? Before they made you into a weapon?" Lyra's violet eyes seemed to look far away. Some was normal once. Had family, then selected for program. She looked at her hands. "Changed me, part by part, mine too. Can it be reversed?" Olivia asked, joining them. Lyra shook her head. "No, permanent." They spent the afternoon making the cabin livable. As Jack gathered firewood, he noticed Lyra moving a heavy table with one hand, showing strength no human woman her size could have. Later, when Olivia cut her finger on a can, Lyra touched the wound, and it stopped bleeding immediately. That night, as they sat by the fireplace, Lyra suddenly stiffened. Her markings glowed faintly. "What is it?" Jack asked, alarmed. "People in town, asking questions, not human." Lyra's voice was different, flatter, more mechanical. "Two Dravik scouts, searching. How do you know that?" Olivia asked. Lyra touched her temple. "Can sense communications. Part of design." She closed her eyes. "They question humans about crash, about strange woman." Jack and Olivia exchanged worried glances. "Can they track you here?" Jack asked. "Soon, getting closer." Lyra stood up. "Must prepare." Over the next 2 days, Lyra showed more of her abilities. She could sense electronic signals from miles away. She could move metal objects without touching them. Her strength and speed were far beyond human. But most disturbing to Jack was how she sometimes seemed to shift into a different mode, less like a person and more like a programmed machine. On the third morning, Jack's old radio picked up a government frequency. A woman's voice came through. The static. "All units be advised. We have confirmation of non-terrestrial technology. 2 unknown subjects spotted in Clayton. Consider extremely dangerous. Military units are en route. This is now a code Omega situation. Clayton is the nearest town," Jack said. "The Dravik hunters are there. And the government knows they're aliens," Olivia added. "This is getting worse by the minute." Lyra stood by the window, looking out at the forest. "Agent woman comes too. Leads human team." "What agent woman?" Jack asked. "See in signals." "Name Carter. Susan Carter?" Lyra turned to them. "Wants me too. Knows weapon exists." Jack ran his hand through his hair in frustration. "So we've got alien hunters looking for you, and our own government wanting to study you or use you. Great." Olivia checked her medical bag. "We should move again. Find somewhere with more people, where we can blend in." "No," Lyra said firmly. "More danger to humans. If fight happens." She didn't finish the sentence, but her meaning was clear. People would get hurt. That night, Jack took first watch while Olivia slept. Lyra sat with him by the window, her eyes reflecting the moonlight like a cat's. "Jack," she said softly. "Thank you." "For what?" he asked. "Helping. Risking for me." She looked at her hands. "Most see weapon. You see person." Jack felt a lump in his throat. "You are a person, Lyra, no matter what they did to you." Suddenly, Lyra's head snapped up. Her markings glowed bright blue. "They come," she whispered. Jack peered out into the darkness, but saw nothing. "The Dravik?" Lyra nodded, standing up. Her body seemed to change, becoming more rigid, her movements precise and calculated. 2 scouts, armed, 1 mile away. "I'll wake Olivia," Jack said, moving toward the bedroom dot as he turned. Lyra grabbed his arm with inhuman speed. Her grip was like iron. "No time," she said, her voice now completely devoid of emotion. "Stay behind me." Before Jack could respond, something crashed through the window. A small metal sphere rolled across the floor, emitting a high-pitched whine. Lyra moved instantly, grabbing the device and crushing it in her hand. "They found us," she said. And then, to Jack's horror, parts of Lyra's body began to change. Her forearms split open, revealing metallic structures beneath. The markings on her skin glowed intensely. Her eyes became completely violet, with no white visible. Jack backed away. For the first time, he truly saw what Lyra had meant. She wasn't just enhanced or modified dot, she was a weapon. And now she was activating. The blue glow from Lyra's body lit up the cabin as her transformation continued. Her skin hardened into something that looked like armor. The metal parts in her arms formed into weapons Jack had never seen before. She moved toward the door with mechanical precision. "Lyra?" Jack called, his voice shaking. "Are you still in there?" She turned to look at him. For a moment, her eyes flickered, showing a hint of the person he knew. "Stay back," she said, her voice a strange mix of mechanical and normal. "Protect." Olivia rushed into the room, awakened by the noise. "What's happening?" she gasped when she saw Lyra. "The Dravik found us," Jack explained quickly. "And Lyra is ... changing." Outside, they heard movement in the trees. Lyra's head turned sharply toward the sound. 2 targets, armed, approaching from north and east. Her voice was flat, like a computer. "What do we do?" Olivia asked before Jack could answer. Lyra moved. She went through the door so fast she was almost a blur. Jack and Olivia ran to the window to see what was happening in the moonlight. They could see Lyra standing in the clearing. From the trees emerged 2 figures. They looked almost human, but taller and thinner, with gray skin. They wore some kind of armor and carried weapons that glowed with the same energy as Lyra's markings. One of the Draviks spoke, making clicking sounds mixed with words. Lyra responded in the same language. The conversation seemed tense. Then, without warning, one of the Dravik fired his weapon. A bolt of energy shot toward Lyra. She moved with impossible speed, dodging the blast. Then she raised her arm, and a pulse of energy shot from the weapon that had formed there. It hit the Dravik square in the chest, sending him flying backward. The second Dravik fired multiple shots. Lyra created some kind of shield with her other arm, blocking the blasts. Then she charged forward, moving faster than any human could. A fight that followed was like nothing Jack had ever seen. Lyra moved like water, flowing around the Dravik's attacks, while striking with deadly precision. In less than a minute, both Dravik lay on the ground, not moving. Lyra stood over them, her weapons still deployed, her body still in its armored state. "Is she ... did she kill them?" Olivia whispered. Jack wasn't sure. He slowly opened the door and stepped outside. "Lyra?" he called softly. Lyra turned toward him. Her eyes were still glowing violet, her face expressionless. She raised her weapon arm, pointing it directly at Jack. Jack froze. "Lyra, it's me. It's Jack. You're safe now." For a tense moment, Lyra didn't move. Then, gradually, the glow in her eyes dimmed. The weapon on her arm retracted slowly. Her face showed confusion, then recognition. "Jack," she said, her voice becoming normal again. What happened?" "You fought the Dravik," he said, carefully moving closer. "You won." Lyra looked down at the fallen aliens, then at her hands. Horror crossed her face. No, did not want to hurt, even them. Are they dead? Olivia asked, coming to stand beside Jack. Lyra shook her head, stunned only. We'll wake soon. She looked distressed. Could not control. Program activated. Weapon. Mode. Jack understood now. Lyra had been designed not just with weapons, but with combat programming that took over in dangerous situations. She hadn't been in control of her actions. We need to leave, he said. Now, before they wake up. They quickly gathered their essential supplies and got into Jack's truck. As they drove away, Lyra seemed to be struggling. Her skin still had patches of the armor-like texture, and some of her markings continued to glow. Are you okay? Jack asked, concerned. Fighting program, Lyra said through gritted teeth. Wants to complete mission. Eliminate threats. She closed her eyes, concentrating hard. Need help. To turn off. What can we do? Olivia asked. Talk, remind me who I am, not what made to be. Lyra's voice was strained as they drove through the night. Jack and Olivia took turns talking to Lyra. They told her about Earth, about themselves, about what it meant to be human. Slowly, the glow of her markings faded. The armor-like quality of her skin receded, returning to its normal blue dot by dawn. They had reached the outskirts of a larger town. Jack parked the truck behind an abandoned warehouse to rest and make a plan. The Dravik will report back, Lyra said, now fully herself again. Send more. And now government knows too. We need help, Jack said. Someone who understands what you are, but won't try to use you. Olivia had been quiet for a while, thinking. Now she spoke up. I might know someone, Dr. Alan Pierce. He works for the government, but he's a good man, a xenobiologist. He studies the possibility of alien life. Can trust? Lyra asked. I think so, Olivia said. He was my professor in medical school. He always said if we ever found alien life, we should approach with respect, not fear. Jack considered this. It's risky, but we're running out of options. As they discussed this, Lyra suddenly stiffened. Signal. Strong. Coming from. She pointed upward. They all looked up, but saw nothing in the morning sky. What is it? Jack asked. Scan. From orbit. Lyra's voice was tense. Looking for me. From orbit? You mean from space? Olivia asked, alarmed. Lyra nodded. Ship. Dravik ship. She closed her eyes, concentrating. Big ship, battle class. The implications were terrifying. If a Dravik battleship had arrived in Earth orbit, this was no longer just about finding Lyra. This was a potential threat to the entire planet. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of vehicles approaching. Many vehicles. They looked out to see a convoy of black SUVs and military trucks coming down the road toward the warehouse. How did they find us? Jack asked. Lyra looked down at her chest, then tore open her shirt to reveal more of the implants beneath her skin. One small device near her heart was blinking with a faint light. Tracker, she said, her voice filled with dismay. Deep inside, did not know. Can you remove it? Olivia asked. Lyra shook her head. Connected to core systems. Remove means die. Vehicles were getting closer. Jack could see armed soldiers now, and among them, a woman in a suit who must be Agent Carter. What do we do? He asked, looking at Lyra. Lyra looked at the approaching forces, then at Jack and Olivia. Her expression softened. Surrender, she said quietly. Me only. You two run. No way, Jack said firmly. We're not leaving you. They want weapon, Lyra argued. Not you. We'll face them together, Jack insisted. There has to be another way. As the soldiers surrounded the warehouse, Jack realized They were out of time and options. The government had found them. The Dravik were in orbit. And Lyra, despite all her power, was just one weapon against two worlds. Then Jack had an idea. A desperate, possibly stupid idea, but maybe their only chance. "Lyra," he said urgently, "you said you were made to be a weapon. But what if you could be something else? What if you could be a shield instead?" Lyra looked at Jack with confusion. "Shield? Not understand?" "Your abilities," Jack explained quickly as the soldiers approached. "You were designed to destroy, but what if you used your power to protect instead? To defend Earth from the Dravik?" Understanding dawned in Lyra's violet eyes. "Use design against designers." "Exactly," Jack said. "But first we need to convince these people we're on their side." Olivia stepped forward. "I'll talk to them." "Agent." Carter might listen to reason. The warehouse doors burst open. Soldiers with guns rushed in, surrounding them. Behind them walked a stern-looking woman with short black hair and a dark suit. "Agent Susan Carter. Hands up, all of you." She ordered. They raised their hands. The soldiers kept their guns pointed at Lyra, who remained calm. "Agent Carter," Olivia said. "My name is Dr. Olivia Martinez. We need to talk." Carter's eyes narrowed. "You're harboring a non-terrestrial entity and interfering with a government operation. That's all we need to talk about." "There's a Dravik battleship in orbit," Jack said urgently. "They're not just after Lyra. They're a threat to Earth." This caught Carter's attention. "How do you know that?" Lyra stepped forward, causing the soldiers to tense. "I know Dravik, was made to fight them, can help you." Carter studied Lyra with intense interest. "You're the weapon our scanners detected. The energy signature is coming from you." "Yes," Lyra admitted, "made for war, but chose different path." A man in a lab coat pushed through the soldiers. He was older, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Agent Carter, we should hear them out," he said. Olivia recognized him immediately. "Dr. Pierce." Dr. Alan Pierce smiled at Olivia. "Hello, Dr. Martinez. Quite a situation you found yourself in. You know her?" Carter asked. "She was one of my best students," Pierce confirmed. "If she's involved in this, there's more to the story than we know." Carter hesitated, then lowered her gun. "You have 5 minutes to explain." Jack, Olivia, and Lyra quickly told their story. About Lyra's escape, the Dravik hunters, and the battleship now in orbit. As they talked, Dr. Pierce examined Lyra with fascination and respect, not fear. "The timing matches our satellite data," Carter admitted when they finished. "We detected a large object entering Earth orbit 6 hours ago. They will demand me," Lyra said. "Threaten your world if refuse." As if on cue, every electronic device in the room crackled. A harsh voice came through radios, phones, and communication equipment. "Humans of Earth, we are the Dravik Empire. You harbor our property. Return the weapon designated Lyra 6 or face destruction. You have 3 hours to comply." The room fell silent. Then Carter turned to Lyra. "Are they capable of destroying Earth?" "Not whole planet," Lyra said, "but can destroy cities, many cities." Dr. Pierce stepped forward. "Agent Carter, if what they're saying is true, we can't give her to them. She's a sentient being who sought asylum. And if I don't, millions could die." Carter countered. Jack looked at Lyra, then at Carter. "There's another option. Lyra knows the Dravik. She knows their weaknesses. She was designed to fight them." "What are you suggesting?" Carter asked. "Let me help," Lyra said. "Use my design, not as weapon to destroy, as shield to protect." Dr. Pierce nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, if we can understand how her abilities work, maybe we can use them to disable the Dravik ship without destruction." Carter thought for a moment, then nodded. Doctor, you have 2 hours to work with her. Then I need a plan. The next 2 hours were intense. Dr. Pierce examined Lyra's implants and systems while she explained Dravik technology. Jack and Olivia helped where they could, translating Lyra's technical terms into concepts humans could understand. The Dravik ships use a centralized command system, Lyra explained. All functions connect to main core. Very efficient, but vulnerable. And you can interface with their systems? Pierce asked. Lyra nodded. Was designed to infiltrate and destroy. But can change that. Can disable instead. You'd have to get on their ship, Carter pointed out. Yes, Lyra agreed. They want me, so give me to them? Jack shook his head. No way. It's too dangerous. Lyra took his hand. Jack, first human too. See me as person. This is my choice, my purpose. Not what they made me for, but what I choose. In the end, they developed a plan. It was risky, but it was their only hope. As the deadline approached, they moved to a clearing outside the town. Military forces surrounded the area, ready to defend if the plan failed. Lyra stood in the center of the clearing. Jack and Olivia stood with her, despite Carter's objections. We're staying with her, Jack had insisted. Until the end, Lyra looked up at the sky. Coming, feel their approach. A beam of light appeared from the clouds, growing brighter. Then a ship descended, smaller than the battleship, but still impressive. It landed in the clearing, and a door opened. 2 Dravik emerged, taller and more heavily armored than the Villa. Scouts, we're here to surrender the one you call Lyra 6, Carter announced, stepping forward. A Dravik leader made clicking sounds, then spoke in broken English. Wise choice, human. Give weapon. Lyra stepped forward. Before going, she turned to Jack and Olivia. Thank you for showing me humanity. Jack hugged her, surprising everyone, including the Dravik. Come back to us, he whispered. Lyra walked toward the Dravik ship. As she approached, her body began to change, the markings glowing, but differently than before. This time, she was in control. The Dravik seized her arms, pulling her aboard. The door closed, and the ship rose into the high sky. Now we wait, Carter said grimly. They didn't wait long. 20 minutes later, the sky lit up with pulses of energy. Through binoculars, they could see the massive Dravik battleship in orbit, surrounded by strange electrical discharges. She's doing it, Dr. Pierce said, monitoring energy readings. She's overriding their systems. The light show continued for several minutes. Then, suddenly, it stopped. The battleship remained in orbit, but all its lights were out. It was dead in space. A smaller flash appeared, descending rapidly. The scout ship returned, landing roughly in the clearing. The door opened, and Lyra stumbled out, looking exhausted, but smiling. Done, she said as Jack and Olivia ran to her. Ship disabled, sent back to Dravik space. Cannot harm Earth now. You did it, Jack said, supporting her. You saved everyone. Agent Carter approached, her expression softer than before. What exactly did you do to them? Reprogrammed engines. Ship returns to Dravik home. With message, Lyra smiled. Message says Earth protected. Weapons here defend, not destroy. Stay away. Dr. Pierce laughed. Brilliant. You turned their fear of weapons against them. In the days that followed, much changed. Agent Carter's team worked with Dr. Pierce to establish a monitoring station for potential future threats. Lyra worked with them, teaching what she knew about space and other civilizations. The government offered Lyra asylum and citizenship, classified at the highest level. She chose to live with Jack in his cabin in the mountains, where she could be herself without hiding. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the stars, Lyra touched the implants beneath her skin. Still weapon, she said softly. Always will be. Jack took her hand. No, you're what you choose to be. You chose to be a shield, not a sword. That's what matters, Lyra smiled. Humans strange. Find injured alien. Not afraid. Show kindness. Not. All humans, Jack admitted. But the best of us try to see the person first, not the differences. Lyra looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, her message was reaching the Dravik. Earth was protected now, and she had found something she never expected when she crashed on this small blue planet. She had found humanity, both in the humans who saved her and within herself.